This is Umar for BoxNation. I'm joined by the head of Nova Sports, Napa, after a thrilling night at Tottenham Hotspur. We saw a classic. I don't think many people thought it would be a classic fight, but it lived up to the billing. Just give me your reflections on it.
Um, yeah, man. It was it was a much more exciting fight that I thought was gonna happen. I thought Chris will stop him mid rounds. I thought Ben will come out explosive and then we'll get the stoppage. But credit to Ben, he was game. He put a performance that the public liked and Chris matched him and they went all the way.
As I said, it was an epic fight and they both gave it their all. But I think
Yeah,
the moment of the night was actually seeing that lift open and Senior walk through because a
yeah.
lot of things in boxing do leak and get out. But honestly, I'm not making this up. Myself and all the other media, we didn't have any idea that his father would be coming on fight night. So how did that all get planned and arranged and kept under wraps?
Um, it was pretty last minute and a handful of people knew and we had to keep it that way. Otherwise, you know how boxing is. Boxing is a very small circle, so it would have got out there. And we knew as long as it doesn't get out, it would make the impact that it did make. That's why the stadium rules like it did.
Okay. Another big talking point involved yourself. Before we come up back onto the fight itself and maybe what's next for Junior and a potential
Yeah.
rematch with Ben. Billy Joe Saunders was walking towards the door to go and inspect Junior's hand wraps. Now, as far as I know, what I'd heard, Team Eubank and yourself had said that you didn't have an issue with Billy coming in. So do you want to just clarify that?
Yeah, so obviously, look, Chris has basically had the better of the whole pre-fight press conferences and the rest of it, right? So when they said, all right, cool, when it comes to the hand wrap, they're gonna send Billy Joe. I thought to myself, yeah, that's a good idea. That's probably something I would have come up with if I was Team Ben. So I thought to myself, how can we counteract that? And then I was like, oh yeah, simple. Just say you can't come in. Um, Someone from the board watches the raps anyway, so it's you don't actually have to have it. You can actually just say no. So I thought to myself, when he comes, I'm gonna say no. He can't get past me, like verbally or physically. So that would be the answer to it. I'm just gonna say no. And that's what I said. That's why I said I guarantee you're not going to get in because I know there's no way he can find his way past me. And I didn't want them to have anything because obviously Billy Joe in there, it would have been a whole shambles. So I needed to make sure that he doesn't go in there to disturb Chris, and I did.
So is there a rule with the British Boxing Board of Control that you can object from someone coming in your changing room?
To my knowledge, it's not a rule that someone from each side of the party have to go and watch it. No.
Okay, fine. So outside then, obviously got very heated quite quickly. The main kind of pickups I took from there was he said that he'd take you outside and splat you in seconds. And also I've spoke to him since and he said referred to you as a Weatherspoons bouncer, essentially. A doorman on a Weatherspoons, etc.
Yeah.
And a nobody, and you were doing it for clout. So, what's your response to that?
So, okay, I was doing it for Clout, but he's the one that came to the door with cameras. I don't have any footage of what happened. I was not doing it for Clout. I didn't. Did I mention to you, make sure you're around, something's going to go down? I didn't mention to no media, something's going to go down. This was something I was going to do off camera, behind the scenes. If he wants to bring cameras and then it's been that everyone's seen that he got declined from coming to the changing room, that's his fault. That's his fault. He's the one that wanted to do it for clout. He's the one that's at Chris Eubank show. He's the one that's no longer relevant. 4 years inactive, fighting. Saying I'm a Weatherspoons bouncer. I mean, I don't even live in the UK, so it's stupid. And he can go outside and splatter me in a one-on-one fight. I mean, I saw the guy uh like a week before the fight. His energy was completely different.
Who,
There's
Billy?
no camera. Yeah, there's no camera. We were in the same hotel for like 2, 3 nights, and there's no cameras, there's no media, no nothing. He's telling me I think Chris is going to win within 5 rounds and the rest of it. But now when the camera's there, he's got a whole different. The guy's a phony. He's a fake. He does stuff for. Um, Listen, look, it helped the pay-per-view, I guess, right? So I'm not really mad about it. But me, I'm not doing that for clout. Otherwise, I would have had a whole. I would have posted it on my social media on my page. I would have had all. I would have told you. I would have told all the other boxing outlets to make sure you're there to film it. So yeah, he can't splatter me outside. He can't force his way past me to get into the changing room. And he's the only one who did it for clout, because the video he has is a whole film crew following him to the door. And when he arrived, he went to go say hello to Eddie Hearn, and then he walks to the door with Josh from Matchroom. It's all for them, you know. So it's all good. It's a plan to disturb Chris, and I made sure it didn't work.
If he loses the weight, and look, we don't know exactly what Junior is going to do next, whether it's a Ben rematch or he goes in a different direction, but is that something you'd look at, a rematch with Billy Joe down the line?
Hell yeah! Look, besides what happened, um, Billy Joe Eubank is a massive fight. I'm not gonna be deluded and tell you it's not. It would be. The public would like to see that. Um, would it happen? We tried to make it happen. He met one of my business partners last year. We wanted to make it happen, and apparently he said that he ain't got enough time to lose the weight. He needed to tune up. Um, but you know, I guess none of the promoters out there were willing to give him a tune up, especially with how much money I presume he'd demand versus how much money versus his value of today. For Billy Joe to come back is just going to have to be in a big fight. So yeah, I think. Well, he told me that he was like 18. He met Maz. Um, he works with me and my colleague with Eubank. He told him he was 18 stones at the time, so it was too much to drop. Now he says I think he said he's around 6, 15 or 16 stone. So, we're getting there. If he can make the weight, it's it's a fight I know Chris would like. It's a fight I personally would like Chris to have. And I'm sure it's a fight that the public would like to see.
Yeah,
And Billy's got a loud mouth. He will help sell the fight. I think it will make some noise. But the guy's got to lose the weight first before we can actually start envision it being real.
I said to him, you'd have, I guess, a couple of comeback fights, warm-up fights, or even just one, and then you guys could look at a Chris Eubank Jr. rematch. He said, going off that performance from Junior on Saturday, that he'd be the warm-up fight.
He also said I'm a Weatherspoon bouncer, and he also said I'm not a boxing manager, and he also claimed that outside he's going to splatter me. So the guy says a whole load of random stuff that's not the case. So he won't listen. If he wants to go straight into Chris, fantastic. But let's see. The reason why I think I don't know a promoter that would give him a tune up unless he's willing to take a complete massive pay cut and do a tune up. If he is, fantastic. But I can't see it. But I do hope that fight happens one day.
Do you think he can make super middle again?
Well, I think he always used to be heavy outside the camp, right?
Yeah, yeah, of course, not this heavy that he's at this point, but yeah, he does balloon up and down. He used to throughout his
Yeah,
career. Yeah.
yeah. So obviously he's a bit older now. I don't know. I guess we could discuss it. We could do 168 plus 2 or 3 or something. I don't know. It's a conversation that we would have.
Yeah, fine. Okay, talking about weight, yeah. If you're speaking honestly, how hard was that for Junior to, I know he missed the weight by just like half an ounce, but he nearly got there. How hard was that process for him though?
Not that making the weight was hard, is that there was a big we got told that the weigh-in was between 11 and 1, and then so we presumed it meant that if we got there around 12:15, so if Chris didn't make the weight, you have a bit of time to lose the weight. Chris weighed in at 160.2, and then there was, we cleared the room and stuff, and there was a little commotion, and then out of nowhere they were like, "You've got 4 minutes to lose the point two." So apparently that was because Conor Benn weighed in an hour earlier. So, I don't know I haven't really spoke to everyone about it because so much was going on and we was more focused about rehydrating Chris after. So I don't know who's at fault or whatnot, but they both guys should have weighed in around the same. If both of them weighed in at the same time,
Mm.
then Chris would have had that 1 hour to lose point two
So let me just
over.
clarify this. So what, like, tell me the timings you were told because Eddie said you guys weren't given that time because you were late to the weigh-in. So just clarify the
No,
timing you were told.
we said we'll get there around between 11 and 12. Between 11 and 12. We got there at 12:15. But apparently Connor went on the scales around 11:20. So I wasn't there, so and plus I was juggling a lot because I had Brandon Glanton as well. So yeah, apparently Connor been on way earlier. So by the time Chris went onto the scales, the board was like, "You've got an hour after Connor's weighed in to weigh in." So then that gave Chris only 4 minutes. If both the boys weighed in at the same time, Chris would have had an hour to lose the weight, and he would have just made weight, and there would have been no talk of Chris didn't make the weight or whatnot. Even if Chris had 3 minutes more, he was 160.2 and then he was 160.05 and he spent 3 minutes on the treadmill. So even if he had another 2, 3 minutes on the treadmill, he'd have made weight. So here's what it is. They had everything in their favor uh, with this fight, but we still came out victorious.
Okay. Look, I know contractually there is a rematch set. His Excellency said he'd like to stage it back at Spurs in September as well. And I know from a casual point of view that that rematch would definitely sell. There'd be an appetite for that given the
Mm-hmm.
first fight. But for myself, and probably a lot of people within boxing, I'd like to see Conor return at 47 and
Mm-hmm.
go down a world title route. And I'd like to see Junior campaign at 68 personally, because I don't know from an inside look, but it looked like from the outside that making 160 was a struggle. He was asked to get down to 157 years ago, and that's what I'd like to see, and I'm sure a lot of people within boxing as well would like to see Conor at 47 and Junior at 68. So I know there'd be huge amounts of money involved with the rematch, and the terms all agreed for that, Napa. But how do you balance that now moving forward?
Um, I
And do you
think
get where
Chris,
I'm coming from on those two?
yeah, I think Chris wants to do it again.
Yeah.
I've spoke to him here and there. Um, let's see. I mean, Conor Benn's going to fight Barrios. It'll be Barrios he'll target, right? I'm presuming we won't go for Ennis. And then Chris at 168. We'd like the Canelo fight, but then Canelo's fighting this weekend, and then he's got Crawford. And that means if Canelo likes to fight in May and September, that means potentially we'll have to wait until next year, May, for that fight. There's nothing really else at 168. There's no champion and there's no name that there's no other pay-per-view fighter at 168, is there?
No, you may. I was trying to think, but I can't actually.
No, yeah, there's not. There's no Brit that's a pay-per-view
No,
fighter.
look, Callum Smith and Benavidez have obviously gone up to light heavyweight. Those would have
Yeah.
been two options at 68 before, but they're not there anymore. So yeah, I actually you do make a point. There's not many big names at 68.
Nah, there's not anything that would uh motivate Chris to um have a fight before a Canelo fight.
Is it safe for him to make 160 though? And moving on to September, he's going to be a bit
Listen,
older.
I don't think any fighters hardly any fighter is going to tell you that they make weight easily. I've been to many shows this year, and yourself, just go to the fight hotel at any show. You're going to see fighters in there from 7, 8 in the morning. Some of them they're in there for hours making weight. No one, it's a tough sport. I'm an extremely strong individual, but I can't do the camps and the rest of it. I mean, I guess I'd be a heavyweight, so I wouldn't have to make weight. But boxing, training, and making the weight and whatnot, and the discipline they have to have is extremely difficult. I commend all fighters that do it. Even is it easy for Chris to make 160? No, I wouldn't say it's easy. Is it doable? Yeah, it was more the rehydration. I think the rehydration is what Chris was. Yeah, the rehydration is what made the fight a bit more fair. And I think that's what we'll probably not want next time. But again, I need to speak with Chris. I've made it back to Dubai. I haven't spoke to him in detail. I do know that he wants to do the fight again, but the terms, I guess, we'll have to discuss.
Okay, I didn't know that. I'd actually assumed the rehydration clause for the rematch was already in the contract. I didn't know that.
But I've seen that Eddie Hearn and Tony Sims and the rest of it already speaking about 147 fights. So
Mm. Okay, so if they take that route with Barrios, what does Junior do in the meantime?
um, I mean, the only fights that would, well, for me, would be a Saunders fight, a Canelo fight.
Kell Brook?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that will work. Kirby, yeah, that will work.
What
Those
weight would
three
that be?
really. I mean, I don't know. What weight did Kell Brook fight Amir Khan at one? Was it 147?
I don't, you know what? I don't know if it was at championship weight.
Maybe it was catch. Maybe they can fight at 162 or something like that. Kell Brook's been at the ring for a while. He fought at middleweight before. That'll be a good fight. Probably them three. I mean, like Charlo, Caleb Plant, Edgar Berlanga doesn't really, apart from Canelo, what is there to do at 168? Nothing. So outside of that, we probably look at the Saunders or Kell Brook.
If you were managing Conor Benn, just to reverse the situation, what would you advise him now?
I don't want to let them know what's common sense. I'd advise them to fight Eubank. If we fight again, then I'll tell you no, I got nothing to say. Fight Eubank.
Okay. Okay. How did you score the fight?
8 rounds to 4.
Okay.
Connor had some good rounds. Like was it 8, 9, and 10? And I thought if he keeps pushing on, he could. If he wins the championship rounds, he could come back and get a draw here. But Chris threw 100 punches for the last in each round of the last 3 rounds that I think won him the fight. Yeah.
Just before I let you go, I know he apologized for his comments as well, and Chris and Brandon showed great respect after their fight. But yeah, just some thoughts on what Brandon did say in the week. As I said, he did apologize for that.
Brandon Glanton is one of the most aggressive, violent boxers we have in the stable, and one of the most aggressive, violent boxers there is. He he um he goes into the ring and wants to inflict pain. He's quite an old school type of boxer, and this was his first fight with so much media, so much attention. He's not experienced this before. His last fight was in Russia, where the media wasn't even speaking English. Fight before that was in France. Fight before that was in Pro Box, which doesn't have as much as light as this. So for the first time, he's getting loads of media and the rest of it, and he was just getting agitated to the point where he just wants to fight now. So he did apologize. I think it was over the top. Chris Smith is a cool guy, according to what Lawrence Okoli told me about him, because they spent quite a lot of time together. So that's why I never said anything about Chris Smith leading up to the fight. I just wanted Brandon to get the win to help to progress going forward. But Brandon apologized. He just wanted to fight. He just wanted to win. He just wanted to. He's just hungry. just hungry. So yeah, we apologise, and I apologise again on his behalf.
Okay, okay. Well, listen, is there anything you like to add about Junior or anything else before we close off?
No, we're gonna have some calls this week and see what will be the next step. But as of what I'm hearing from the rest of the team, it looks like we will try and activate the rematch.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
yeah, congratulations again on the other night, and yeah, we shall speak soon. Thank you very much.
big up, big up, big up.
Queensbury
The biggest fights,
and the biggest nights.
home of champions.
Home of knockouts.
There's no way back from this!
The home of the future.
And this is
The
it!
global home of boxing.
Queensbury, exclusively on DAZN.